7. I did the first interview with him after that. I remember asking him questions saying, what would you do on day one of the Boris Johnson mayoralty? And it was a pre-recorded interview, and he just said, well, I think I would, yes, I think I would, you know. And I thought to myself, well, shall I let him start again? I thought, no, honestly, if you can't answer that question, he shouldn't become mayor. And yet now, 6 or 7 years on, I mean, he's grown into the job. Whatever one thinks of his grasp of policy, he's certainly got a far better grasp of it than he had a few years ago, which I suppose you would expect.
But listen, the reason London Mayor is so perfect for him is that they need a big character in London, but they don't really have much in terms of power. He hasn't got revenue over society, he hasn't got any power over schools, he hasn't got any power over health, he hasn't got any actual, concrete power in this massive city. And so his kind of politics, where you do kind of capture people's imagination, but you don't really have to take it anywhere, is perfect for this. What you have to consider is, on the one hand, they're going to be really tempted to send out the troops of Boris, and on the other hand, are his skills that well suited to government? I mean, politically, of course, I can't stand the man. I think he's a snob. I think he's got a kind of weird, love, slavish adoration of wealth. I think all his cornflake analogy, where he shakes the cornflake box until all the bottom cornflakes have died, I think it's really unpleasant. But personally, I can see that he's a charismatic person.
Well, sorry, I'm going to leave you to your Rice Krispies now. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. That's Guardian columnist Zoe Williams. Well, the auditorium really is filling up now. Theo Oshaw, our political editor, joins us. Seems to be quite a lot of atmosphere in the queue outside the building, from what I've seen on Twitter. There's lots of buzz here at the Indigo in Greenwich here, and lots of people queuing up. I'm not surprised at all. We always hear that lazy narrative, don't you? Oh, people don't care about politics anymore. People love politics, and they love London politics. That's just representing that so people here today. It's interesting you say that, because whatever the final number is coming through these doors, I don't know whether it's good. I know we've got over 1,500 people registered. It may well be more than that. The fact that 1,500 people will come out on a nice evening like this, football on the telly and all the rest of it, and they want to hear from the Mayor of London about what his plans are for the next couple of years. And it says something, doesn't it? It says something, and they're coming up with important questions. They're handing, our producers are taking questions from the audience, and they'll be coming to them during tonight's debate. There's a large, you can probably hear behind me, a great deal of chatter going on. I imagine they'll be talking about things like crime, housing, water cannon might come up. And then, of course, we're going to have the national debates as well, and I expect, as a side topic, Boris's leadership ambitions will come up too. So there's plenty to talk about. It's 90 minutes, and that's actually quite a difficult one, both for Boris and indeed Nick Ferrari, because Nick Ferrari has got to get him to give the final answer on that tonight. That's my challenge to Nick Ferrari. Get him to announce that he's going to stand as an MP. Should be here on obviously. What's your killer question for him? Just put you on the spot as well. Okay, just staying on that leadership. Just staying on that leadership issue. If you can't become Prime Minister, which is increasingly looking like the case, what would be your plunge job in a cabinet, on-led cabinet? And I'm just here. It's quite interesting. The standard really a couple of months ago, there's sort of an infrastructure role. And I think the word is there's actually quite a lot of truth behind that, and it'd be quite interesting to see. I can just imagine as Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson. Wouldn't that be fun for us all? A diplomatic incident every week of the year. Well, coming up after 7, we will build up to the debate at 7:30. Nick Ferrari will be here. He's going to have a word with us, and also Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London, will be talking to me in advance of the debate over the course of the next half an hour. What do you think the biggest issue facing London is? What's the issue that you would like the Mayor to really get to grips with in the final 2 years of his second term of office? And how about this for a question? Would you like to see Boris actually stand for a third term? 0345 6060 973. Live from the O2, this is the Indela Drive on LBC, leading Britain's conversation.
On FM, online, on your mobile, and on digital radio. Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
It's 7 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Simon Conway. Thousands of Londoners are preparing to hold Boris Johnson to account in tonight's State of London debate being hosted by LBC. The London Mayor will take questions on a range of issues at the Indigo at the O2. LBC's political editor Theo Usherwood is there.
We're now halfway through Boris Johnson's second term as London Mayor, and it's a perfect opportunity to rate how he's done in the job. Housing, crime, and his ambitions to be Prime Minister are all likely to come up during tonight's 90-minute debate. It'll be interesting to see whether any of the questions get under his skin, or whether Boris can fend them off with his usual bluster.
The debate gets underway at 7:30. You can watch it live on lbc.co.uk, and Ian will be speaking to Boris Johnson in the next half hour. A decision will be made next week on whether Andy Coulson will face a retrial over 2 charges connected to the phone hacking investigation. It's after a jury failed to reach verdicts on the former News of the World editor, as well as ex-Royal editor Clive Goodman. Yesterday, Mr Coulson was convicted of plotting to hack phones. Met Police Assistant Commissioner Cressida Dick says the phone hacking investigation was complex and challenging.
Throughout this investigation, we have done our best to follow the evidence without fear or favour. We were acutely conscious of the sensitivities of investigating a newspaper and people employed by a newspaper, and inevitably dealing with confidential journalistic material.
David Cameron has defended the procedure used to vet Andy Coulson before he was hired as communications director. Police in Greater Manchester are investigating after a 90-year-old woman was dragged off the street and raped. It happened as she was walking to her local butcher's shop in Rochdale early yesterday morning. Local MP Simon Danchuk says he's shocked and horrified by it.
It's an absolute nightmare, and I've no doubt about it that the people of Rochdale will feel revulsion at what has happened here. A 90-year-old lady dragged off the street and raped. It's absolutely horrific.
Angela Merkel has agreed EU leaders should formally vote on whether to make Jean-Claude Juncker President of the European Commission if consensus cannot be reached. Downing Street says the German Chancellor made the commitment during a phone call with David Cameron ahead of a summit this week. The Prime Minister has insisted he'll keep on fighting until the end in a bid to prevent Mr Juncker getting the EU's top job. A woman is in hospital after being hit by a police van in North London. The pedestrian, who is in her 20s, was on Southbury Road in Enfield when the crash happened earlier this afternoon. Police are urging motorists to avoid the area. Argentina and Nigeria have progressed to the last 16 of the World Cup. LBC's Johnny Park has been watching the final Group F games in central London.
It's finished Argentina 3, Nigeria 2, in a game which saw Nigeria put up a great fight, levelling the score twice. But in the end, it was the quality of Messi who scored 2 goals that won the game for Argentina. In the other match, Bosnia beat Iran 3-1, which means that despite losing to Argentina, it's Nigeria that still qualify, much to the delight of the football fans here at the Carlsberg Sports Bar, who are all still beaming with pride after their